Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're going well. Good to have you with us. Big race, big weekend. They're all big races. They're all big weekends from here on in. What are we talking about? Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi. I said it last time on my video. I'm like sprint races, two of them night races, street races, rain races. You got the full sweep of tests coming up at a critical point in the championship. They're all big races, and we're going to go through Mexico in tonight's live stream. Hello, everyone. Hector Maldonado says, as always, drinking coffee while we watch the stream. Lovely. I just had one. I just woke up, so I just needed one. How do you have your coffee? Let me know in the chat. May Q says, hi, Martin. I've been trying out yerba mate. Awesome. Cool. I'm still trying to find how to prepare it and the right kind of tea and the right cup. And I was close to getting, what do they call it? They call it gourd, I think, in Brazil. I've been close to getting one, but I couldn't pay Brazil in PayPal. I don't know what's going on between Australia and Brazil and PayPal, but I couldn't get like the cup. I think it's called gourd. So yeah, let me know how that's going. It's quite a challenge. Christian says, hello from London, England. Awesome. Hope you're going well. Hello from Western Sydney. Hello, hello. Luke Man, also here as well. Drinking one right now. How many refills? Okay, Brendan Ennis says, tell me Oscar is going to be okay, Martin. I can't, I assume you say, I can't bear this anymore, these late night races. It's a big talking point, and I've been following, you know, a couple of channels that I'm interested in watching throughout the week, and they've essentially been saying, like, whenever it comes to these sprint races where Oscar doesn't have time to prepare, then he struggles. I say, kind of. Sometimes, I mean, you know, this time last year he was taking Brazil's sprint pole wins, and didn't he win in China sprint as well? Or Hamilton won that one, but didn't Oscar come second in that one? And I don't know, I just can think of a few examples where Oscar does hit, like in Spa, for example, he hit the ground running really quickly this year as well. So I'm not sure. Championship pressure, surely there's a bit of that in there as well. I mean, yeah, we'll get to it in the driver's mentality. There's a lot to talk about in this one. So yeah, just quick overview of the agenda. As always, we'll talk about the weather. Then I'll talk about driver's mentality. I probably still want to chat about Oscar and just see, yeah, as you say, Luke, man, what should he do? Any track car reg updates? I don't think we have too many or any, but mainly the chat will be about the circuit. So I've got the track map here on my left, and I'm looking at it now, and there's a lot of things that I want to call out to you guys. It is a fairly technical track. There's a few technical corners that we need to talk through, and but in a way it's kind of straightforward as well. I don't see much opportunity. I had a look at a few of the pole laps, and they were all really good laps. Like, I didn't see like for example, when we spoke about America, and I'm like, there'll be a tight line here and there's opportunities here, and the S's and stuff, we're using downforce. I think here it's like you just need to be neat, you need to tick your boxes, and you've just got to, like, the lap has to be perfect. It's not a long lap. So I will talk about it. And then we got the compounds and strategy, predictions, safety car restarts, and a 2-minute break at the end. Questions from the floor. MU Warrior says, g'day from Melbourne. G'day, mate. How you doing? All right, let's get into it with the weather. It's going to give us the context for the weekend. Let's have a look. There you go. Bang. So what are we looking at? Not much, really. I don't see a big story here. Yeah, it's going to be warm. Now, look, you're going to get those guys come out and say, oh, it's going to be warm, McLaren, Tyre life. And I'm thinking, hang on. That's so April, May, March, February. That's old news. This is a qualifying championship. And Mexico in particular, with its lack of air, lack of downforce, lack of slipstream, lack of anything, like, it's not going to be it's not going to be a race that's won on tire management. I couldn't care less about tire management at this point. I'm all in for the 1-lap pace, the 1-lap performance, whack the car on pole, defensive posture off the line, cut to the inside, control and manage the inside, and walk and win the race from there. And don't let anyone undercut you. That's got to be the line of least resistance to winning the Mexico Grand Prix. So when I hear this temperature stuff and tire wear stuff, and like people do race pace analysis, I'm like, cool, bro. But if you don't qualify well, mate, you're fudged. So anyway, I say all that to say there's no big story here. It's just going to be warm. And yeah, we'll see how we go. I've got kind of misleading philosophies about Mercedes. I'm in two minds. The car doesn't generally like the warm temperature, and I'm talking about 1 lap here, of course. But I feel like it does like that situation where downforce is not as significant as like what it was in Austin. So we'll talk to that. I think it's on my notes somewhere as well. All right. So like I say, no big story there. Key drivers approach for this weekend. Again, I've got my lens on Oscar Jack Piastri. He needs a good weekend desperately because it's just coming in on him now. There's Lando's coming in, Max is coming in. Then you got the media. Then you got these YouTubers. Everyone's like coming in Australia and the media and the favoritism and the papaya rules. I think the whole thing is just squashing in on Oscar. And if he can get a good result, he can just push some of that back off for another race, which would be good. What does a good result look like? Is it beating Lando or is it beating Max or is it beating both? He needs a strong result. He needs to fight and compete for turn one and fight and compete for pole and fight and compete for wins. He needs to show signs of life. That's what I'm looking for. You asked it before, right? And I lost you guys' question here. Let me see if it's here just quickly. I'll spend too much time. Well, there's one from Oscar here. I'll take it anyway. I reckon Oscar isn't fast enough to bring this off. Lando is still the quicker driver, and Piastri will be the one who loses out to whichever team is on form. Yeah, that's a fair line of thought, fair train of thought as well. Absolutely. Like I've always thought that Lando's got a bit more one lap pace somewhere in him, and with Oscar, he was doing really well. Like he was out qualifying Lando in a lot of places, like Hungary, Netherlands just as well, and Spa. There were places where Oscar caned Lando in qualifying. Singapore, I think he out qualified him, like as recently as Singapore, which is like 1 or 2 races ago. So it's weird because it's like, but I've always thought that like Oscar didn't necessarily take a step or a big step in 2025. It's that both happened. Oscar took a bit of a step. It's his 3rd year. He's been taking gradual steps, but Lando has not been naturally comfortable, not a natural gel with MCL 39. I don't think we're seeing Lando like at his fullest and brightest burning flame that we saw like last year. He's not totally. Remember they had the suspension change around Canada, trying to make him more comfortable with it. And I've got a few clips that show that Lando's hands were too quick for the strong front end of the McLaren. And so I think it's a bit of both. Bit of Oscar creeping forward and Lando just not quite finding it. So to your point, Christian, I reckon Oscar isn't fast enough. Potentially he might have a lap time ceiling that just Lando, Max, George can just creep on top of. Yeah. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Like I don't think Lando and Oscar are in the top 4 F1 drivers at the moment. I've got Max, George, Alo, and Leclerc in that order. Max, George, Alo, and Leclerc in that order. Before I think about maybe Piastri, maybe Lando, maybe Carlos, like I go, Lewis is in there as well. So current form, by the way. But like, yeah, it's a conversation. I'm not sure. Like, yeah, I think I said, I gave a decent piece of analysis to Oscar last time. And I'm like, just be free, just play free. Don't think about the pressure, think about the championship. Like, and I don't need to give this advice to Oscar. He's pretty good in the mentality and mindset side, but don't get tense. Play free, man. Just brake late, and attack the track as if you're 17 again. Do you know what I mean? Like Oscar's way too mature and professional beyond his years. And I'd love to see Oscar like lock a brake on his first quali lap and just see like, oh, he's pushing, he's fighting for this one. And like, do you know what I mean? I want to see a little bit more, go after the lap time and chase, push a little bit harder. So yeah, I just don't see any other way. Again, I want to see Oscar signs of life, competing for poles, competing for wins, competing for lap time, competing for turn ones. And yeah, I just want to see him in the mix. I don't think he's going to be, where he puts it on pole and he just pulls away and he's going to dominate. I don't think you're going to see that. But if he's in the conversation, that's fine. He's got a championship lead. So all he needs to do is be in the conversation. He just can't go missing like out in Q2 or qualify P6, or you can't have that. You've got to be at the sharp end, like just fighting for wins. And then, yeah. Oliver Williams question, what's the difference between Oscar and those drivers? Well, there's a lot of things. Max is fantastic in different corners, like high speed, S's, downforce significant. Max is also amazing in the wet. The Max is more complete in many areas. I think George as well is also complete in those areas, but George doesn't have Max's wet performance. Alo, again, on the technical and tactical sides is phenomenal. A lap time to go with it as well. He's just so sharp. Like he's amazing. Leclerc's got lap time, but he doesn't have what the other three guys have: ability to convert poles to wins and fight for championships. And what's the difference? Oscar doesn't have the lap time to cut it with those top four at the moment. I don't think he's got the raw speed. Like if you put all of them in the same car, we think Oscar's going to out-qualify Max, George, Charles, or Fernando. That'd be tricky. I don't think he would. I think he'd be starting P5 if that was a thing. He's got other qualities like fantastic stoicism and level-headedness, and he's a thinker and a problem solver, and he's analytical and he's smart, and he's, like I say, he's not too emotional. Max, for example, is very emotional, cost him points in Spain. So they've all got their pros and cons. We're all human. No one's perfect. But I just don't put him above. Like, yeah, those guys are champion quality up that level. So we'll see how we go. He's definitely got some qualities, but he's going to have to bring this one home. Anyway, like I say, we could talk to MakeU says you can't do much without pace. I think Lando has much superior pace. He's just not confident and hindered himself time to time. Yeah, exactly. Lando shot himself in the foot a couple of times. So yeah. All right, let's talk about this circuit. Well, you ask it, is Mexico a driver's track or a car's track? I'll get onto that because I don't have an immediate answer, but we'll get onto it. So let's talk about Mexico, what makes it unique, why we're here, and what the challenge is. It's not my favorite circuit, to be honest. I think, well, anytime you have I'm just looking at the track map now. Anytime you have an increasing radius corner onto a main straight, it's a shit design. China did something like that. And like, not many overtakes happen down that 4.9 kilometer straight because, again, it's an increasing radius corner onto a straight. So if I can go over to the track map and draw it for you guys, explain my frustrations here. Increasing radius corner, like I'm looking at 16, 17, which means, I'll draw it a bit thicker. Can you guys see that? Where should I draw it? Give me a sec. I'm just looking to see what you guys can see. Yeah, got it. So increasing radius corner opens up like that. So it's like tight, the apex would be like here. And increasing radius corner opens up on the exit, and it's all about traction on the exit. And when you've got a car in front and you're the car behind, let's say in blue, like you're already struggling with traction. You don't need another car in front to make it worse. I just feel like if you're going to put a corner onto a main straight, an increasing radius corner has got to be the worst choice for racing. So I'd sack that off straight away and put, mate, you can put whatever you want there. A hairpin, a chicane, S's, double apex, long corner of constant radius or decreasing radius. Don't put me a long corner of increasing radius onto a pit straight. Yeah. So look, it's not my favorite track, but I try to refrain from saying that because, you know, they all need to be your favorite track. You can't like as a driver and as a driver coach, you can't walk around and say, I don't like this track. No. You need to learn how to like this track. You know, you've got to be, you got to find a way to like it and find a way to be quick around there as well. So we'll talk about the elevation to start with. So yes, Mexico City is at altitude. And when you go up at altitude, the air gets thinner, it gets less dense. And things need air to work. A lot of things that I can mention. Us as well. If you go for a run anywhere around sea level, like I'm here at Perth Beach, 0 meters above sea level, yeah, the air is thick, it's dense. You get high air pressure and your lungs can breathe and your body goes better. If you go up at 3,000 meters, for example, and try to do the exact same swim, ride, walk, run, whatever, you'll notice that you just can't get enough air and therefore oxygen in, and then, you know, the body doesn't work as well. Same thing with the cars. I'm referring more to the engines now. The engines need air and fuel to make power. And if that air is just not present, so engine power is down. That's one thing. Cooling is down. So engine cooling and brake cooling, again, lack of air up there. But probably the biggest one that like you'll hear talking about is like the wings don't work either with no air. So that's why they whack on heaps of wing and it looks like they run Monaco wing. But because there's no air up there, then they don't have any problems with drag or they can't generate downforce. So then you would say, and the thing I've been grappling with, because all of that's true, the thing I've been grappling with is how come aero wash is such a big thing then? if there's no air. So I'm trying to understand that a little bit better. And I guess it's a difference in extents and not kinds, which means aero wash is still there, but because it's so bad in like Spain and, you know, Silverstone and whatever, it's there, but it's to a lesser extent. Still a problem, but not a massive problem. The problem is the increasing radius corner onto the pit straight. That's a pain in the backside. So yeah, let me bring you guys over to the whiteboard just as I talk about it. And also the slipstream doesn't work as well. I've just made a quick diagram just 5 minutes before we went live. Look at that, cuz. Come on, what a diagram. That's hectic. Guys, give me a thumbs up for the diagram. That's hectic. What are you talking about? All right, so this is sea level over here. And what I'm trying to show you guys is air density. Look, the air is dense. So there's a lot of molecules per square hectare, per square kilometer, per square cube, per meter cubed, per whatever cubed, which means whenever our friend punches that, he creates a nice hole for the guy to go, for the slipstream to follow behind. So slipstream is very powerful, therefore, in this situation. Whereas we're over here in Mexico, this is Mexico, and air is not very dense. So our lead car in red, if this is Leclerc, chocolate eclair, punching a hole through nothing, then like your Mercedes friend behind, there's no slipstream here because there's no hole to be punched in the dense air. Does that make sense? You guys follow me here or what? Am I talking to myself? So I just feel like there's no slipstream, there's no downforce, there's less aero wash, the engines don't work, the whole thing's a bit of a shambles. But anyway, here we are. What can you do? There's nothing you can do, true? It is what it is. So here we are. So I'll come back to me for a second. So air is thin, engines, downforce, aero wash, and whatever. So what does that mean? When you don't have downforce, you guys know my philosophy. When you don't have downforce, there's a different driving technique to when downforce is significantly active. Like, for example, if you're driving through a 70 km/h corner, like we had at the back of the track, the decreasing radius that we had in Austin, you got to be progressive with everything. Progressive with the steering, progressive with the brakes, progressive with the throttle, straighten the steering. You know, you got to baby the car through these sections of racetrack because, mate, they work with downforce and downforce is not significant, it's not doing anything. However, in the S's, like you guys saw Max in qualifying, he was a machine. Attack, go after the pedals, hard on the brakes, hard on the throttle, still gentle with the steering because you're flying through, but you can go after the pedals with downforce. It's like a magic pill for the car. It allows you to just smack brakes and smash throttles, and Max takes advantage of that extra grip that the car has. Here in Mexico, despite having the big wings, downforce is not significant. So you're back to your Rob Wilson, introduce the car to what's coming next, baby the car, all that sort of thing. So that's kind of the first point I'll make is it's all about progressive driving, progressive braking, progressive throttle, you know, decreasing radius, winding on the lock, and just like it's patient driving. Got to be patient out there. Get the steering wheel straight in a few places as well. Straight line traction, not necessarily straight line braking, but there's a straight line traction event that I want to talk you guys through as well. All right, so let's do it. Let's jump over to it. Let's have a quick squiz at the track. So I'm still getting to your question, Randy. Is it a driver's track or a car's track? Let me just, we'll go through it. It's always both, right? But we'll go through it. All right, so the first thing I like to do when I look at a track map is say, well, what technical corners have we got? And try to call them out together because it helps me characterize the track. If I know we got chicanes, I'm like, all right, we need curb compliance. If I know we got increasing radius corners, this one, I know we need traction. If I know we got long corners of constant radius, I know we need front grip. So the 7 technical corners, like before I'm not interested in how many straights and corners and all this rubbish. I want to see like where are the technical corners and then figure out, well, what are the demands of the car and driver. So here's your first one. That's a chicane. Here's your second one. That's a decreasing radius corner, turn 6. That's a fairly technical little track, eh? The little Mexicans, lad. All right, we'll come back to this for a second because a few people called this S's during the week, and I I don't know if it fits the definition of S's, to be honest. I've got my own definitions. I'll walk you guys through. But I don't necessarily put that in the box of S's. I'll come back to it. Likewise, I don't necessarily put this in the box of hairpin. It looks like a hairpin, smells like a hairpin, probably is a hairpin, but I got other things I'm worried about in hairpins, not just a downshift into a left-hand turn. As I'm worried about other things like braking stability and migrating brake balance forward and you downshifting 6 gears into like the Chinese hairpin, for example. This is like a muffin turn. I'm not interested in that one. But some people call it a hairpin. This is clearly an increasing radius corner. So there's no question about that. So we've got to come back to this part in question here. Now, a lot of people call this S's. I think I heard Windsor during the week call this the S's. I think Mark Slade and Windsor did some sort of show and they called it S's. And you might even hear drivers like talk about S's and say, oh, in the S's section. This one doesn't fall into S's for me. So for it to be S's, let me come back. Think about S's. Think about Suzuka S's. Like you fire in there and the first ones are quick and they get tighter as you go through. And then they can turn in even tighter and tighter and they can turn into long corners of constant radius at the end of them. For me, that's a fundamental characteristic of S's. The one we just went to, Austin, bang, fire the car into the first set of S's. They're like quick, medium, and then they get longer and slower as you go through. Likewise in Silverstone, Cops, Maggots, Beckett's, again, the first one's flat, second one's a lift, and you have to show more respect through the S's as you go through. That's really important for it to be considered a set of S's. So if I go back to my whiteboard, I got them handy for us, cuz you have a look at this. So if you're going this way in Silverstone, yeah, you don't show much respect to the first two, but then towards the end, you have to start braking and pulling a couple of downshifts down before you get to the last part. And it's mad. I think that's for me, because there's no official definition, but I try to give you guys like the 7 technical corners is my whole framework. So I'm trying to like square it up so it always holds true and you can rely on it. Again, with Austin, the first ones are gentle and then they move. And yeah, you can argue some of these get into long corners towards the end as well. That's Austin. We just went there. And then, mate, this is a classic set of S's. Look at that. So you're going this way and then you've got your S's here. Lovely. That's how it should look. So the question is, do we see that? Do we see this here? What is this, cuz? What is this? This is not S's. This is rubbish, cuz. How's this S's? No, that's not S's. Look. So it kind of like I get it. I understand where people are looking and they're like, oh, it's a quick left, right, left. It's a set of S's. And I'm like, for it to be considered a set of S's, like it's got to tick certain boxes, which this doesn't. So I can't honestly and hand on heart put this in the category of S's. If I bring up my definition for S's, let's have a look at it. S's, a fast and high speed entry. That's important. That's really important. That's what we spoke about. You're flying through into first part, Maggots, Beckett's. I think what's the first one? Maggots. Or the first one in Silverstone. The first one, you got to be like flying in there top, like almost top speed. That's important. A fast and high speed entry into a series of alternating left and right turns, each of which is tighter and longer than the previous turn. That's important, and we don't have that here. So what do we got? Well, I've had a look at a few onboards, and to be honest, I don't place this firmly inside a technical corner. But if I had to place it anywhere, I'd probably place it in the chicane box. So let me explain. So 7, there's a curb here, an entry curb, which gets swallowed up. And then thereafter, it's traction on throttle. So it's different, like you're braking first and then you're on throttle. That's different to a set of S's. A set of S's, you're you're slowing down as you go through. In this particular case, like I'll draw in red, that's your braking into there. So then you're braking again into 10. Again, you've got a lovely entry curb here. You guys know I'm in love with the entry curb when it comes to chicanes. And then you've got throttle thereafter. You drive through 11. So these are traction zones. 11, 8, and 9 are traction zones. That can't be a set of S's. Look where those two red braking marks, like it's not a set of S's. So like loosely, I put it into 2 chicanes. If I had to put it into 2 chicanes, I would say, and like again, it's loosely. So I'll put it like, yes, 7 and 8 is a chicane, and 10 and 11 is a chicane as well, linked by 9, something like that. But like very loosely. So like the definition of chicanes, what do we got? Chicane, noun. Let me bring, oh no, it's not in the way. Okay. A tight and slow speed direction change, generally occurring under braking and often characterized by the curbs. Tight and slow speed is probably questionable. We haven't got, this is not Monza turn 1, you know, or Suzuka final chicane. That's proper chicane. Like think about Imola Variante Alta, proper chicane. So it's like, it's loosely in the chicane box, not tight and slow speed, but it is a direction change and it is generally characterized by the curbs and it is under braking. So we tick 3 out of the 4 boxes. So if we come across, we got the direction change, we got the curbs, and we've got the under braking as well in the red sections. It's just the speed that kind of makes it like, but that's fun. So I'd put it more in the chicane box than I would in the S's box. Now, if we have a look at some of these parts of the racetrack, well, actually, let's just summarize and see what we got. So I'll put it in red. This here, I'm doing this, guys. I'm going here. Possible chicanes. Loose. 2. So what do you got? Chicane, 2, 3, decreasing and increasing. Well, you need a mix of things if that's the case. So for your chicanes, you need compliance over the curbs. Got to have a car that can ride the curbs. This one, I'll be particularly interested in this part here, the exit curb at 8. So if we go here, there's a curb here that the cars run. I'll show you some photos. And I think Max was using it in 23 on his pole lap. And yeah, that's an important one. The exit curbs are also important. So you need a car that can ride curbs, particularly here, guys. If you've seen here, they're swallowing both these curbs, entry curbs, exit curbs. They're the whole thing. It's got to be high enough, this car. So that's the first thing you need. Decreasing radius, typically you just need good trail braking, good braking and steering management. The whole problem here is locking up the unloaded inside front right tire. As you come in here, you don't want to pinch the front right tire. So if you've got 4 tires, this one I'm going to put in green. That's the problem because you're turning and braking at the same time. So that one's very easy to lock up. So you want to go back with your brake balance, turn your engine braking up, pull your downshifts back, and just push the brakes progressively like we spoke about. There is an opportunity for straight line traction here as well. A lot of the drivers, they'll come through with the steering lock on, keep the steering lock on and start to head over. I'm not a big fan of that. Like I'm a bigger fan of, hey man, just open the steering wheel for a sec, get the car straight first, get your foot traction down. Remember this, what's this corner? How much is 75 kilometers? That's nothing. You got no downforce at 75. What you need to do is build the speed, build the downforce, build the grip. And so that's really important in this corner. That's a straight line traction event here. Once you've got your foot flat and the gears and you're upshifting, you're building the speed and downforce, you can always bring the car across a little bit later. So that's one little area that I'll have my eye on here. So this will be straight line traction. Traction. And yeah, the increasing radius corner is all about traction. You're turning and on throttle at the same time. So bang, we've characterized the track in about 5 minutes, in 10 minutes, lad. So we need compliance over the curbs and we need traction. I'm looking for rear grip here. This is not a track where you need like mega front grip. So like Hungary or Netherlands, for example. There's no long corners of constant radius here. You're either braking in your decreasing or your throttle in your increasing. There's no constant radius like Hungary final corner or anything. So we need traction and we need just good curb compliance. That's it. That's all I want. Rear grip. Give me rear grip and front suspension. That's it. That's all I'm looking for. Cool. So what else is on my list that I wanted to say? Oh yeah, let's have a look at this. I'll show you guys some pictures. Bang, you see that? All right, so look, someone asked before about, let me just take a drink. Someone asked before about, well, have you had a look at some pole laps? And yeah, I had a look. I didn't look at the one you mentioned, but I've had a look at the pole laps. They're all really good laps. All of them are really good laps. And they're almost perfect laps. So you're going to need a perfect lap to take pole here. It's a short lap. You've got to be precise. It's a little clumsy kind of go-kart track. And yeah, so we'll go through it now. Give me a sec. All right, this is turn 2 and 3. Turn 2. It says it there for you. Top left, turn 2. Good. Curb usage by everyone here. Max. This is 2023. Max on the right. This is, what's that year? The black one. 2020, I want to say. 19, 20? Something like that, before the reg change. And same levels of steering lock. They're at the same point. Everything's the same. This is good technique. Like I say, I saw good technique mostly here. But I just want to highlight to you the importance of chicanes. Like, look at this. Look how big this curb is. And look, you got this orange one as well. So you need a car. And the guys are doing a good job here of unloading the inside front tire, getting that kind of just floating a little bit so that it can make contact and smash into the curbs and give the guys a nice compliant experience. Yes, Christian, they're on the same line. Looks like it. So everything's good here. I'm happy with this. I'm just showing you the curb usage. This is turn 3, the one straight after. This is the first chicane. Again, very similar lines, very similar stuff. I don't know of a better way through here. I spoke about it before. I was messaging you guys in the chat. This is, like I said, the driving's been pretty good around here for the pole. So that's all fine. No news here. So this is where if I'm going back to my whiteboard, I start to characterize the chicanes here. So you've got the under braking into 7 and the curb usage. That's what I want to show you guys here. This is the under braking into 7 and the curb usage. You can see how much they're using it. They've actually worn away a little bit of the grass here. That green is not as green as green on the left here. So like they've been running over it. They're trying to milk the track as much as possible. Even here, there's a bit of brown across here where it's normally pretty green. So the guys are using this. This is turn 7, under braking, downshifting, entry curb. Fine, happy days, good technique here. This is where I'll have my eye on this corner, particularly this year, because they've, I've been saying like in chicanes, hammer the curbs, guys. Like they're your friend. That's where you're going to shortcut and straighten the steering wheel. And, that's where the lap time is in chicanes. You've got 3 around this track to deal with that I've loosely characterized those 2 before. So, but the story this year has been, the cars can't do it. They're too big. They're too clumsy. They're too stiff. They're too low. They're too heavy. They're blah, blah, blah. The floor, this, that. So that shot on the left is from 2023. And this is the section where they're on throttle through the exit of the chicane, the first part. And I'll be just curious to watch this corner this weekend. You'll see a lot of cars spin here because the car bottoms out, and there'll be some ride height adjustments that they might have to make and stuff. So I think it will be a bit of a it will be a problematic corner, particularly when you see how low the Red Bull is running this like recently. So I feel like you keep an eye on this corner, turn 8, I want to say. Yeah, just after turn 7. So yeah, anyway, in whatever year, 2020 and 2023, no problems. So all good. Now this is the second part, the second chicane, third chicane. So see where I've got my arrow? We just saw 7 and 8, and now we're looking here at turn 10, the braking and the entry to the next one. So here we are, the Bottas on the left, Max on the right, turn 10. Again, you see the same sort of, the guys are chipping away at this. And this is interesting because this big green curb that looks all friendly and usable just comes to a sudden abrupt stop and you meet the grass. So it's not that friendly. Actually, I think Valtteri got a little bit absorbed and a little bit sucked into using that because he's early here. His turn in looks early. If you were to project this forward, Valtteri would have to get out of the steering a little bit and open his hands a little bit to avoid this grass. If he continues, it's gonna run across the grass. Max has turned in a touch later, and I prefer Max's timing of turn 10. He's got no problem. He can just add lock the whole way through. Max is going to get on throttle first. Valtteri's got to still sort this corner out. Got too much front grip, or he turned in too early. I hope you guys can see. You understand when you look at this that Valtteri's turned in a bit early and that he's going to need to make some adjustment here. But anyway, I call it out to you guys as being a form of chicane where you want to use the entry curb, unload the inside front, get on it, blah, blah, blah. And this green thing comes to an end. It's not your apex. You don't need to worry about that green piece. You want to make sure you're using the red and white as your apex, which Max did really well here. Any more corners? Give me a sec. No, that's it. So look, the back end of the track, I didn't find the story for you guys there. There's nothing there. This is all Mickey Mouse clumsy stuff. You just brake gently and softly, wind the lock on, use that curb here, and try to get the steering wheel straight, blast the car down and take a gear, and it's all gentle. It's a really progressive section of racetrack. Progressive, which means be soft, be gentle, be smooth, be elegant, be classy. Don't hammer anything. Just be like, like just be, take your time through here. You can lose time through here, but I don't think you're going to gain heaps. And the lap time is going to be through here. The lower lap time, if we're going to highlight in blue, it's going to be here. Like this is where, there, that's it. This part of the track, don't stuff it up. That's it. Does that make sense? So the question remains, is Mexico a driver's track or a car's track? The car's always got like, in Monaco is, by far a driver's track, but, the McLarens always end up on pole, or the Red Bull or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I don't understand the question entirely. It's always a combination of both. Difference in extents. Sometimes it's more of a driver's track. Sometimes it's more of a car track. Like Belgium, for example. If you haven't got a good car in Belgium, you're in trouble. But like Max has shown you this year that even with not the best car, like the driver can still make the difference. It's still like 60-40 or 70-30. There's still a 30 or 40 that the driver can account for. And there's still the 60, which is the car as well. So it's always a combination of both. It's a good question. It's a conversation. Like I don't have a straight percentage or a straight answer on this track. I mean, I've watched all the pole laps here, just preparing for this live. The guys are doing a really good job. It looks like, no, I wouldn't say easy to drive, but the track is short enough and eventually they get there with it. It's not like, for example, I don't know if Oscar's China lap, he was down and had to do a mad, like had to go all in on the hairpin in that final braking zone and pulled like 2/10 back. And you won't be doing that in any place around here. This is all like just marginal stuff going on everywhere. So it's just going to all add up, and qualifying will be close. Qualifying is going to be the most exciting part of the weekend. So watch your practices, watch your qualifyings, appreciate the pole lap. We'll go through the differences. I just feel like the race could be a yawn, given that we know 25 is already a qualifying championship. And then we got, one of the worst tracks to overtake on as well. All right, so I know you guys are smashing me with questions. I can't answer them all, but there will be time for questions at the end. So give me a sec. All right, so let's have a look. Compounds and strategy. Pirelli are trying to do their best. Poor guys, I always give them a hard time for this section of track. Would you rather try food at Cota or Mexico? I was thinking about Mexican food, like, because my understanding of Mexican is like burritos and nachos and tacos. That might not be anything to do with the actual Mexican food. I don't know. But I do like that. Yeah, give me some sour cream and beef mince. Yeah, so probably not. If what I think is Mexican is actually Mexican, like an enchilada or something, yeah, I'll take that. But the Mexicans might be like, nah, that's not Mexican. We have soups and beans and potatoes and rice and I don't know, that's tricky. Anyway, let's have a look. the strategy, the compounds. We'll talk about food in a bit. Give me a second. All right. So as was the case in Austin last week, for the Mexican Grand Prix, there is again a jump in compound selection between the hardest of the three and the medium. So a bit of context. What they're trying to do is push that hard a little bit further away into the distance, make it really hard, and give us two softer compounds such that the teams will want to use these two soft compounds and they'll have to therefore pit because they run out of rubber. What happened last week in Austin is they didn't pit. They just ran them until they lost lap time, and that was it. They didn't give up track position. If they didn't give up track position in Austin, I'm not sure what makes us think they're going to want to give up track position in Mexico, but we do have a step softer, thank God. So instead of last weekend we had the C3, C4. Now we got C4, C5. We're a bit softer. I still can't help but feel this is going to be just a dragged on one stop. They'll just run that C4 as long as possible and do 10 laps on the other one at the end, probably. Like, that's F1, isn't it? And they're not touching that C2 pile of junk. Anyway, for the Mexico City track, this compound is extremely conservative. Yeah. Last year, the soft only came into play in qualifying. And then in the race, I don't want to read this rubbish, honestly. Like, they can tell me a beautiful story, but we know it's going to be difficult to overtake. So that's all. Let me just quickly read this and see if there's anything interesting here. The soft, the advantage to be had with C4 could be lead to however, that comes with a risk of making a second pit stop, blah, blah, blah. Anyone choosing the C2, yeah, we get it. The use of the two softest will be carefully evaluated during the free practice sessions when teams will be able to run long stints. Yeah. On a track that already offers low grip due to its limited use. A fair point. These tires tend to slide, which leads to graining. Very true. It will be interesting to see whether the greater resistance to this phenomenon offered by the current compounds will help limit it and therefore benefit those who are masters of tire management. No, tire management. I spoke about this as soon as we went live. I want pole, baby. Line me up in P1. I don't want to do any tire management. I want to aero wash my friends and just, they're not coming past. So I give Pirelli a hard time because they write these beautiful stories. It's not their fault. The regs that we have, it's just difficult to follow and difficult to pass. Mexico in particular, I drew the air density graph before. It's difficult, cuz what are you going to do? It is what it is, true. This is what happened last year. They started on the medium, they moved over to the hard. This year we've got C4, C5. So this yellow one will come out a bit further, probably. They'll hang out for a safety car, see what happens. If it doesn't come, they'll just pit with like 20 laps to go. They'll just do 50 laps on that, probably. And they'll just manage it. They're not giving up track position. Well, they shouldn't. I think a two-stop would be not the way to go. Let me know if you think I'm wrong in the chat, but yeah, I do not think two-stop is the way to go. A few quick predictions. I just got half an eye on Mercedes. Here's my little philosophy with Mercedes. Forget the tire temperature thing because, again, I'm not interested in tire management. Just talking about one lap pace. Whenever the downforce is like down, not as significant, and mechanical components can take over, like weight distribution, roll, stiffness, tire pressure, cambers, roll bars and springs. And whenever this whole thing comes into it, I just feel like Mercedes they got a little bit more. So then if you add in the cold as well, they'll be even stronger over one lap, that is. So like Vegas, for example, that's going to be something like all the wings are trimmed off and everything. In this particular case, we've got no air. So it is in a way, a mechanical sort of track. Again, I've got half an eye on Mercedes and Georgia this weekend. This could play a crucial part in this championship because you've got Red Bull and McLaren, and those guys are going to occupy probably the front two rows, top three, 2 or 3 positions. But the thing is, can Leclerc get in there? Can George get in there? On what weekends are they going to steal points from different people and interfere and interrupt with this championship? I've got half an eye on Mercedes to do that this weekend. That's what my prediction is. Other than that, the McLaren generates the most downforce. Surely it's the best car around here. I can't see why it wouldn't be. The Red Bull, again, I don't think it would be its natural habitat. The Red Bull likes give me downforce, give me speed, give me grip, particularly Max as well. Is his driving style is similar to that. So Max is like, give me downforce, give me S, give me real S's, give me 290 full, give me proper stuff. So like it's on McLaren's to lose. All they got to do, like they've got a mad car for this sort of thing. So like when you're struggling to generate downforce and you need all of it you can get, surely if we put all these cars in a wind tunnel, the McLaren is the one that can generate the most, but maybe not. I don't know. The Red Bull recently, it's been really good as well. So McLaren should be, but then the drivers as well, and McLaren are just letting it run down at the moment. I don't know, guys. Let me know. What do you guys think? I think I got half an hour Mercedes and McLaren should be in there, but somehow I don't think they will be. Let me know what you guys think in terms of I'll take a drink. You guys let me know. We'll have a quick conversation here about whether it's going to be McLaren or Red Bull, whether you agree or not. George can get in there. Bull praying for Ferrari. Keep praying. Barbara, a crash in FP1 would make things interesting. Absolutely. Lukeman Hakim, pole by Russell. Ooh, not out of the question. Not off the cards. I mean, George is very good. I put him up there. You guys know my ranking. Max, George, Alo, Chocolate, Eclair. That's my ranking. David, I think Ferrari will be good. Everyone will be running these cars higher for the curbs. Yeah, that's the thing. So the Red Bull, does it need to come up? Does that affect it? I don't know. That's not my realm. Maybe we need to get Ian in here. Sonoda's cooked. He never gets a good quali lap. Mercedes car for superior traction. I'm thinking, you were thinking alike here, mate. Absolutely. I think David says, I think McLaren will be further back. Doer says, what about efficient downforce? My guess is with the thin air, Red Bull are able to use it more efficiently for downforce than McLaren. I think efficient downforce will be a conversation when you're going through air. When you're not going through air, what do you need the efficiency for? Think about an F1 car in space. Doesn't matter how efficient, do you know what I mean? Like there's no air. So it's like, I don't think efficiency is as big of a conversation here as what it would be in Austin. I'll bring you back over to the illustration. Maybe you joined a bit later. Like if you had to pick between these two and tell me where efficiency is important, is it the left or the right? Now, surely it's when you're plowing through on the left. On the right, it's like you can be efficient all you want, but yeah, I don't know. Last one, MCL39 doesn't like straight line braking. The drivers will struggle even more because the car is tricky in quali and because of the areas. Yeah, potentially. Yeah. And McLaren's a bit of a handful. Yeah, it's going to be tough. So that's why I got half an eye on Mercedes as well. All right, where are we? Restart. This one's an easy one. Well, I'll come back to the whiteboard. Mate, you got an increasing radius corner leading you onto the pit straight. Where should you do your restart there for? At the increasing radius corner, it's the best possible case for a lead driver. One of the best possible cases. When you get presented with an increasing radius corner and you're the safety car leader, restart, pole man, guy, whatever, mate, just accelerate through 16 and 17. That's all you got to do. No one's coming past. Don't worry about it. It's all good. That's where you need to, I'm going to draw it in green from there. Surely that's where you do your restart. If you go, try to be super creative and smart. And well, you guys know, right? The reason being you can get the steering wheel straight first. You're the first person to see this pitch straight before anyone. You come around here and you're like flooring it before anyone. If you want to be super creative and smart and try to do it like out of 12, let me make this pen a bit thicker. Out of 12 or out of 13, you can. I mean, they can't pass you until here. I don't see a problem with it, but it wouldn't be technically correct. It wouldn't be my recommendation. My recommendation would be just back them up here and be the first person to accelerate on the pitch straight. You'll pull your half second. I'm drawing that badly. you'll pull your 0.5 seconds. And if you have to, defend brake on the, pull to the inside and defend and control and manage the corner at turn 1, then you should do that, Charles. But otherwise, I think that's it. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's much of a difference if you go here or here. I don't see a benefit, but I also don't see a loss either. I don't see a problem with it. I just feel like if you go through here at a decent speed, it's hard for P2 to get their foot down. Increasing radius corners always gives trouble. So that's why. So I think that's fairly straightforward. I'd be extremely surprised if someone overtakes on the restart. I think it should be fine. All good. All right, sweet. So listen, 2-minute break. I'll grab some water. We'll take your questions from the floor. Whack them in the chat now. Anything you want to know, and I'll do my best to answer it. Alrighty, how'd we go? Let's have a look, see what questions we got. First one, Jordan Hill says, "Hi Martin, hello. I hope you're well, mate. If all the drivers ended up seeing some of your content, what advice would you have for all of them?" That's a big question to ask in a live stream, mate. Piastri all the way down to Franco. Are you asking me to give just a blanket advice to all the drivers? Or are you saying individual, customized, tailored advice for all of them? Hopefully it's not that, because we'll be here for a while. So if they ended up seeing my content, what advice would I have for all of them? I'm just going to give a blanket one to all of them if I can. There's a massive opportunity in F1 right now to put your head down and work super hard. I think the reason why Max and George are everyone's kind of top 2 at the moment, and I'm sorry if they're not your top 2, but most people agree that, George and Max are both machines and championship material. They're up there, is because I think they just work the hardest. They're completely and entirely dedicated to their profession. That's not to say that how do I explain this? Because I always go off at Lewis for this, for example. I don't know, he was meant to learn Italian this year. And then, I don't know, just Lewis is a strange one. I don't want to come across hammering Lewis, but is he 110% committed to just driving? Probably not. Probably got a lot of other stuff going on in the background. He released a new non-alcoholic beverage earlier this year. There's a lot of stuff going on in the life of Lewis Hamilton. And so even Fernando as well, I would say, is up there with the George and Max. He's just a machine. He's just a racing driver. In his spare time, he built a track in Oviedo, where he's from, up that way in Asturias, the north of Spain. And he drives KZs in his spare time because he's a driver. And he's done his endurance and he's done all that. And my advice would be you've got to fall in love with the process. You've got to fall in love with the sport and the problem solving, and you've got to just become a racing driver, as distinct from, wasn't Lando doing the fashion shoot the other week? And I don't want to sit there, play golf and all that stuff. Really, believe me, it costs you lap time, because when you're doing all of that stuff, there's an opportunity cost. And talk to Nico Rosberg about this. He'll tell you exactly what I'm saying. He will back it 100%. Nico's saying yeah, there's an opportunity cost. Every time you're hitting a golf ball, someone else is just maybe tuning into this live stream, trying to just find if all of that they think is rubbish, but there's just one thing in there that helps them throughout the weekend, and that they watch 1 hour to get one thing, then that's a win. That's better than playing golf. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about collecting the information. You got to be a sponge for it. And so apart from again, this is just my opinion and perspective from the outside. Apart from Max, George, and Alo, I don't know of too many others that are that dedicated. How many of them have their go-kart track? How many of them go driving the GT3s on the weekend in the Nürburgring and what? Do you know what I mean? Not many, right? They're often doing other stuff, playing chess and doing golf and I'm all for it. Live your life. Don't let me tell you how to compete for a championship, but I just feel you can do all that later. You're only in F1 for okay, Fernando's an exception, but your career in F1 can be short and sharp if you don't perform. So it's I just feel you can do the other stuff later. So I'm just giving blanket advice to all of them. get your head down, boys, and dedicate yourself to a profession. You'll be amazed at what a difference it makes if you just singularity of focus. I hope that helps. I'm going up. I'm trying to do them in order because I don't want to be rude to whoever whacked the questions in first. David Clark, well, P1 McLaren Mercedes. Lewis or Charles to come out on top in 2025? Well, surely it's Charles. I mean, there's only a few races left and he's leading by like 50 points. That's probably going to be Charles. Barbara Martina, question. Best braking strategy for the start after that massively long straight? That's a good question because it's a long straight and brakes get cold. It is warm. It's going to be warm. I mean, brake progressively. But that's the thing. I mean, you're competing. There is opportunity at turn one, which we didn't. It's a good question, Barbara. There is opportunity at turn one, which we didn't speak about because and you guys know on the start, I'm always looking for two things: space and grip. And if you can get both, I will take both. But space and grip are your friends. So what I'm saying, I say all that to say, if you go around the outside and there happens to be space and you're on the racing line and there's grip, yes, you can make a dive and claim the inside into turn two. That's definitely a play. So I think I'm looking for this one first, the space piece. And so, Barbara, to your point, the best braking strategy for the start, I'm looking for space. And it's a dangerous turn one, actually. There's been a lot of accidents over the years. So this is an interesting one. Yeah, for sure. I'll be keeping an eye out for this. Whereas you'll see that maybe the more conservative guys on the inside, they might get wrapped up. It's possible. If you are on the inside, you've got to make sure you're ahead at the apex or whatever the rule is. You've got to make sure that you're ahead. They are not sufficiently alongside to be entitled space. This person on the outside has to be sufficiently alongside to be entitled space at the exit. So you've got to make sure that doesn't happen. Otherwise, what we drew in blue, this can happen. So yeah, it's a good shout, Barbara. The braking strategy, I'm not sure it's just braking. It's like searching for space, searching for grip, finding, picking your line, working out whether you're not alongside. There's a lot to manage there. So there'll be a lot going on. But yeah, it's a great shout. A great question. David Clark, do you think the Ferrari's Lyco will improve here or be worse? I mean, I don't know what's driving the whole Lyco. Is it temperatures? Is it fuel? Is it tire management? I don't know what's driving the whole thing, so I'm not sure whether or not it'll be worse. It could be if they mess up their calcs again and everything. So I'm not sure, honestly. I'm not sure. P1 McLaren Mercedes, another one. What did you do in the break? I can't remember. That was a while ago. I'm sorry, I can't remember. The days just flash past here in my world. Next question. Nathan says tight line. Not around here. I don't see too many opportunities for a tight line. I was thinking about one. Let me jump over. I'll show you guys. I was thinking about one here because there's a direction change that has to happen, but it doesn't satisfy the other ones. Like potentially there is a direction change, but I wouldn't say it's significant track width. I wouldn't say it's necessarily slow speed, even though with the downforce. I wouldn't say this is necessarily a long corner either. It has to tick a few more boxes for me for a tight line to be a play. But yeah, I did have half an eye on an opportunity here, the tight line. It's a 9 and 10. It's a good shout, mate. You guys are testing me here. Haven't McLaren stopped developing for this year? Apparently. I'm not sure. Lukman Hakim, the advice is please get Martin as your driver coach. Someone asked the other day, I think you guys saw, do I think any of the drivers listen to my channel? I don't think so, man. They're flying around in private jets, playing poker, and drinking whiskeys. Like, I don't care about this, I don't think. Could be wrong. Rude Evers, the circuit is a mix of slow, medium, and high speed corners across a relatively short lap. Do you think the high altitude is mechanical grip more important than downforce? Yes. I'm not sure your name, Rude or Rudd. Yes. Maybe you joined a little bit late to the live stream. Yeah, I've been speaking about that most of the time. I think so. And I think that's why I've got half an eye on Mercedes as well. I think downforce comes back and it's not as significant. It's not gonna overpower the car's characteristics. And then it comes back to mechanical grip taking over. Reco or Recho, however you pronounce it. How good is pole here? It's very good. Believe me. You want pole. The run to turn one is super long, just cover the inside. It is, but with the right defensive mechanisms, with the defensive posture and pull to the inside and a good start and control the corner and don't let anyone outbrake you, and with the right things, it should be okay. I understand it is a big slipstream and I get it, but the acceleration phase is happening for most of it, and you're not wrong. Like there is a conversation to be had about attacking into turn one. But what are you going to do? Give up pole to qualify P3 and then try to make the overtake? No, I'm still taking pole. I'd rather be the defending pole sitter than the attacking P3. So yeah, maybe into turn one, it's going to be tough. But if you can get through that, mate, you're home and dry. Lewis Johnson, predictions this weekend. Go back about 20 minutes in the live stream for everyone that's here. I don't want to repeat myself. Rude again. In the stadium section, how do you maintain traction and rotation without overdriving the car? Because it is at the end of the lap and you'll want to pull everything out of the bag. Yeah, it's true. So it's a really clumsy section of racetrack. I'm just trying to make sure I answer your question properly. Whiteboard. Whoop. Whiteboard. So in the stadium section, how do you maintain traction and rotation? You're talking about different things here. I don't want to confuse the two. Like through 13, I want rotation, but then through 14 and 15, I want traction, and then I want rotation again, and then I want traction again. So, I mean, I don't feel like they're connected, but they're different things. So with the rotation, I mean, what can you do? You got slow speed. You just got to wind. Everything's progressive. I drew that word before. It's a very important word. Be progressive with your inputs. So just wind the steering lock on, like progressively, and then open the steering wheel and wind the throttle down and short shift and try to get yourself out of there as quickly as possible. I'm not doing that in quali, by the way. In quali, I'm going to give it a bit of a squirt through here. I don't care about the rear tires. I'm going to burn them. It doesn't matter. I don't want to break traction, obviously, but I want to be closer to that. I'd rather be on the wheel spin side than the under the limit side. So I'm going to give it a bit of a squirt through here in quali, probably. But then I got a brake and downshift to get my rotation here. And here's different. I give more respect here. Here I am patient with the throttle, short shifting, open the steering wheel, wait for the thing. Like, yes. But I think there is a bit of an opportunity here to give it just a little stab. Like, we'll be looking out for that. That's one of my predictions, actually, if I can add it. I will be looking out for that. Who does give it a decent squirt through this part? Because, yeah, I mean, go for it. Why not? Like, if you can just control it with the steering, you might find a bit of lap time there. It's a good question. So in the stadium, how do you maintain traction and rotation without overdriving? Yeah, just don't break the limits. Like, again, it's a difference in extent. So how much do you? Yeah, just be patient. Like, obviously, the guys know that you'll be coming into this section. You'll have the delta. You'll know whether you're up or down, and you'll know I'm up 2/10, and therefore there's grip, or therefore don't blow it, or however you want to interpret that. But like you'll round here, you might even glance it and see that it's up 0.25, and you might see that and you'll be like, oh, I know there's grip. I'm going to squirt it through there. So you got to use your delta as well. Your delta will help you manage the situation, because you're asking how do you maintain without overdriving? Your delta will tell you whether or not grip is available and lap time is available or not. So I'll be trying to watch that as much as possible. It's a good question. I hope I answered it. I hope so. Miami Pal question. Is Oscar's current dip in performance due to having less experience driving a difficult car compared to Lando, since the MCL39 is not as competitive and easy to drive as at the start of the season? I'm not sure what you're saying is true. I mean, in the hands of Lando Norris at the start of this season, the McLaren didn't look very easy to drive. I got the clips. You want me to show you the clips? Where are the clips? Where are the clips? Where are the clips? Where are the clips? Am I get in trouble for the clips? Yeah, here's one. I'll show you. This is Jeddah. What race is that? Race 3? I haven't seen this for a while from Lando. That's Jeddah. But this was very common in the early part of the season for Lando. Every time a high-speed entry, the back would get away from him. They seem to have calmed down the front end in the McLaren to help Lando with this. Whatever they did, the suspension. I don't see this popping up anymore. It's not. I've closed this story because it's not a thing anymore. So I guess the first thing I'll say is I'm not sure if I fully agree with what you're saying. I'll bring up the Chinese one. Why not? Is that turn 1? China was early on in the season too. I don't see this sort of thing happening anymore. But anyway, you get the idea, right? I don't want to fully. Yeah, you get the picture. So the question is Oscar's current dip in performance due to having less experience driving a difficult car? I'm not convinced the McLaren is a difficult car to drive. It's an amazing Formula 1 car. It's leading both championships. They've won the Constructors' Championship already with 5 rounds to go. There's nothing wrong with this McLaren car. It's a mad car. It's a good car, nice car. And I think to that end, it's not difficult to drive either. Maybe early on, yes, Lando was struggling. And like I said, I just showed the videos for that. So, and then what do you say here? Is his dip in performance due to having less experience driving a difficult car? I don't think it's a difficult car. I think Lando's been on the up. It's a relative sport. So unless Oscar's finding additional lap time, it's going to look like he's fallen behind. He might not be struggling. He might just be doing his normal thing, but Lando's getting, or Max particularly as well, and then they're working it out. And if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So it might look like Oscar's struggling, but I don't see him driving too many like struggles like we saw that story with Lando. It's a tricky question because I don't know, like Lando keeps saying that it's difficult to drive, but then it's a mad car. I talk to the Haas drivers and say, would you like to drive a McLaren? And I'll be like, yeah, it's a mad car. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm not sure I 100% agree with it being a difficult car compared to the start of the season. Maybe it is, and you're right. I saw it more difficult in the hands of Lando earlier on. In the hands of Oscar, it's always looked pretty good. And that's why I said at the start of the stream, I want to see Oscar lock a brake or have those moments. I want to see Oscar like go chase lap time a little bit more and just feel it out, because Oscar always looks really neat. So yeah, I'd like to see Oscar chase for lap time a little bit more. Oh, where are we? There's so many questions. I'll go for a couple more minutes. Reco, will we see Max do adjustments mid-corner in Sector 3 again? If he feels it necessary, then we will. I'm just looking at the track map. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Absolutely, it's possible, because you've just come through a higher speed section of racetrack, and the demands and requirements in the Mickey Mouse section will be different. Whether that's brake, so you've just come through this high speed section, and now we want, like our friend said before, we're chasing rotation. No, not that one, sorry. We're chasing rotation, particularly into 13 and 16. So yes, I believe there's a case for that. So something to help with rotation in those areas. Look, braking, probably not. These aren't big braking zones, right? This is not like do. No, this is nothing. This is just gently on the brakes and wind the steering lock. So it's probably got to be a change for rotation, which is like diff, or I mean, it could be an EB one, maybe if you pluck a downshift or two. But I feel like diff. Yeah, 100% diff. It's a good shout. because that's a very different proposition to this. So it's a good shout. We'll be keeping an eye out for that. Thanks, Recco. How will the rookies go here? How will Franco fare? Hopefully okay. Was last year he was here, and was it a sprint last year? I can't remember. I don't think he did well here last year. I think it was out in Q1. I think it was like a sprint, was it? I can't remember. And he wasn't. I was talking about tires. He didn't quite get tires right. Look, it's a tricky little track. Progressive inputs. I think they'll go okay. But honestly, I don't have more color I can add. I'm not sure why or how. There are so many, and the 6 of them, and they're all got different characteristics and different cars. And no, I hope Franco goes good. Why not? Needs a good, strong weekend. Robel Bar, do you think the Merc performs better in Mexico than Austin? Yes, I think so. Badland, what do you think about Piastri's history in Mexico? Does he have trouble with this track? Yeah, I think Oscar's in the max category of give me downforce, give me grip, give me speed, give me Puon and Eau Rouge and Maggots and Cops and Beckett's, and give me Stowe and Chapel and Bridge, and give me mad corners, man. Oscar doesn't want this Mickey Mouse stuff. I feel like Max and Oscar are in there, but to a different extent. Max can deal with this. Oscar, maybe it's going to struggle a little bit. He doesn't like this progressive. I saw the way he started in Spa, and it was amazing. He hit that track running like amazing after the break. He was on it straight away. So like and it's his favorite track. Spa is his favorite track and Max's favorite track as well. It not only their favorite track because whatever favorite track, but like gives me an insight into the types of corners that they're chasing, and they love that feeling of give me the speed and downforce, and so this is the opposite of that. This is not speed and downforce. This is like yeah, this is giraffe, slippery slide. So is at least the front grip limited car. Well, at least a front grip limited car as it was in the last recent races. Oscar was struggling with that. Front grip limited. The McLaren was mad front grip. I think what we saw was an excess of front grip. Like in these, this is not front grip limited. This is rear grip limited. This is a lack of rear grip, cuz. So I don't know if it's changed or you're referring to Austin or you're referring to something else. But this thing's got loads of front end in it. Too much. So again, like I don't want to hammer your point, but not sure what you're referring to. All right, this is the lucky last one because I need to go have a sleep. All right, last one. Come on, what's going on? Give me a mad question. Oh, there's a super chat. We have to take that one. All right. I'll take that one, but then the one above it looks good. Which corner is the most critical for lap time? I'll take the super chat first. So who's this? My grandma can't run. You should see her. Mad name. $2.99 Australian bucks. Is one driver dominating for 6-7 years normal? Yes, it's very normal in Formula One. There's periods of regulations and phases of cars, and teams just find the sweet spot and they get ahead of the curve, and they got a mad car for the first year, and they can switch their attention to next year's car very early. And, you get that. Look, 6 or 7 years is a bit aggressive. You don't typically see domination that long. 7 years. I don't know of anyone Mercedes dominated for a while between 2014 and 2021 in terms of constructors. I think they won all of them. Oh, yeah, it's normal to have periods of domination. You had the Ferrari with Schumacher, Alo won a few titles, Vettel won 4 in a row, Mercedes won, Max has won 4 in a row now. Unfortunately, yes, that is normal to some extent. I'm going to take this other one as the last question. Red Evans, which corners are most critical for lap time, and where is it worth taking more risk for drivers? You would say the S's, but the high altitude affects downforce and thus slow corners the most. Oh, it's a big question. Let me read it 5 or 6 times to understand it. Which corner is most critical for lap time? Give me more. Are we talking here in Mexico, or are you talking generally? I don't know. And where is it worth taking extra risk? I don't like that word, and I don't take extra risk where possible. So that's out. You would say the S's Again, which S's? We already said this track. I didn't place these in the category of S's. But the high altitude affects downforce and thus slow corners. Well, slow corners, there's no speed, there's no downforce anyway. So the high altitude doesn't have a big impact there. The high altitude will have an impact in the high speed where downforce would ordinarily be significant, but now because there's no air, it's not significant. In the slow speed corners, you're not generating much airflow anyway. You're not generating much downforce anyway. There's not much of a difference across the slow speed. The car's going to be a clumsy little dinosaur anyway in your slow speed sections. It's just in the high speed, you're not going to have the grip that you deserve, that you should be paid for when the speed is there, because again, there's no air. Your question confused me. I didn't understand it. So I helped you. Thank you guys for coming to this live stream. I am going to give you a quick summary now. And the summary is I've got half an eye on Mercedes. The safety car restart should happen on the exit of turn 16. Turn 7, 8, 9, 10 are not a set of S's. If I had to put them anywhere, they fall more in the category of chicanes, with traction being very important on the exit of these chicanes. I'm looking for progressive braking techniques, progressive throttle techniques, straight line traction techniques, progressive steering techniques. And I'm looking for maybe that little squirt between turns 14 and 16 at the end of the lap as well. Qualifying will be good. Keep an eye out for qualifying. The race, I don't have expectations. It is what it is. If we get a good race, beautiful. If we don't get a good race, we move on to Brazil or whatever's next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.